With all the excitement that we've had recently with Legends of the Force in the competitive scene, there's still quite a little bit of excitement to go on off of there with some planetary qualifiers and sector qualifiers still to come. It's easy to forget that we've got a new set just on the horizon with Secrets of Power. And it looks like that pretty much the whole set has now. But before we go ahead and get any further into today's video, if you do enjoy it, please do go ahead and drop a like rating on it. Subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already. We're 5 subscribers away from the 200 mark. We are so close now. So if you can reach that by the end of the month, that would be absolutely incredible. Also, be sure to drop a comment down below with the cards that you're looking forward to most at the legendary slot from Secrets of Power. And also don't forget to check out my link tree, which is in the description, where you can find me on other social platforms. A reminder as well, if you haven't seen yesterday's video as well, it will be linked in an iCard in the corner of the screen for you. My vlog from the casting experience for the regional championships that happened last weekend. And do not forget to go ahead and watch all the way through to the end of that video so you can get yourself into a giveaway for some Star Wars Unlimited goodies. And the prizing and all the information on how to enter is in that video. So go ahead and check it out if you haven't already. Entries for that giveaway will close next Wednesday, the 22nd, I believe it is. I've got it in a pinned comment exactly when everything will close for that giveaway and competition. So yeah, go ahead over there if you haven't already. But let's talk about Secrets of Power now. The next set that's coming in to Star Wars Unlimited, and the last set that's going to be released before we look towards rotation, which will be coming in set 7. So once set 7 releases, the first 3 sets of Star Wars Unlimited, so Spark of Rebellion, Shadows of the Galaxy, and Twilight of the Republic, will be rotating out of Premiere Play and will be left with Jump to Lightspeed onwards. Those 3 sets are still going to be supported. However, there is an article that was released quite a while ago now about Premiere rotation, saying that yes, the Eternal format and a Legacy format is going to get support in organized play. So don't start quite selling all of your legendaries from sets 1 to 3 just yet, because they could very well still be useful. They will be in this format as well, however, as we're going to dive in to these legendaries. Fair warning as well, some of these cards we will kind of skim over a little bit because we have talked about them in previous weekly update videos when the community reveals and things were happening for Secrets of Power. But now it seems like the entire set has basically been spoiled at this point, is on the Star Wars Unlimited website. So now's a good time to go through everything. We're going to start off in Vigilance and Villainy with Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle. It's a 4-resource space unit, 3/5, which says each friendly ground unit with Sentinel gets +0/+2. This is a really interesting card here. Unfortunately, it seems like we don't have many leaders at the very least, or any leaders in Villainy that are able to grant Sentinel. Our Sentinel granting unit is primarily Ahsoka Tano, who is Vigilance and Heroism, so it doesn't quite work in that regard. But if we've got ways to give other things Sentinels, then this could be really nice. Obviously, we know that Chirrut Imwe is a very strong Sentinel in the format right now. In Vigilance and Villainy, you've also got things like the Pike Sentinel as well to play down early. There's a lot of cool cards here that you could combine this with. And if you think about running this in Kira, potentially, this is just going to give potentially more grit stacks to units if you can give those units Sentinel. So I like the sound of Kylo Ren's Command Shuttle on paper at the very least. Whether it's going to see a lot of play going forward, we'll have to wait and see. Even for the sake of just giving Chirrut Imwe an extra +2 HP and making that, what, a 3/7? I think that would be, with the ability to reduce damage with the Force token as well. That in and of its own still seems like a pretty good excuse and reason to play this card. Darth Scion, we've spoken about in a previous video, but we'll go over it quickly here. It's a 5 resource ground unit in Vigilance Villainy. It's a 5/5 that says, when played, give an experience token to this unit for each enemy unit that was defeated this phase, and then when defeated, if this unit had 7 or more power, it gets bounced back into hand. I love this card. I think this card is going to see a bunch of play, especially in that Vigilance and Villainy aspect. It's very, very easy to remove things with that combination of aspects. You think if we're pairing this with something like Mother Tolzin, potentially in all of the minus effects that the Night Sister package has with Karis and Tolzin's Assassin, those kinds of things, those could be really, really strong. To be able to get Darth Scion out onto the board, I think it's going to be very, very easy to get it with 7 or more power on the board. I also said in a previous video when we first talked about this card that if we included this in something like Gar Saxon, all you need is 1 enemy unit to be defeated for you to have that 7 or more power for it to bounce back into the hand. So I really, really like the look of Darth Scion right now. A lot of the Legends cards in this set do look very, very good. Now let's head over to Heroism. Still sticking in Vigilance with Cassian Andor. It's a 2 resource ground unit. It's a 2/2, so well statted for its resource cost. While this unit is defending, the attacker gets -2 power. Not bad. And if an enemy card ability would deal damage to this unit, you prevent 2 of that damage. I'm quite torn on this card right now, at the very least, because on face value, a 2/2 for 2, not bad as a phase 1 play, especially because it sort of protects itself with the -2 defense while the unit is defending. So I feel like it will be very, very strong and limited if you can pull it. But this enemy card ability damage thing, I'm a little bit torn on. Because while, yes, it protects you from something like Daring Raid, just wipes away the damage completely, it doesn't protect you from things like Open Fire or Force Choke, or even Force Lightning as well, if your opponent, if the player using it pays enough resources to skirt around the Andor effect. It also doesn't protect you from just the hard removal options, right? Of things like any minus HP abilities doesn't protect from that because it's not damage that's being dealt to the unit in that situation. So something like Whirlwind of Power doesn't protect from it. Something like Shatterpoint, obviously with it being a hard removal, doesn't protect. Same goes for Power of the Dark Side, Merciless Contest, No Glory Only Results, yada, yada, yada. So I'm really not sure about this card, in all honesty. Maybe it's a good little bit of phase 1 support for Ahsoka. You know, give this Sentinel, then the unit has to defend, so the attacker will get that -2 power in the early game stages of the matchup. But here I'm really not sure about Cassian. It just doesn't feel like it does enough here to really warrant it to be like, yes, this is an auto-include 3 of in most, if not all, Vigilance and Heroism decks that can play. It feels like there's just so many other, and I mean, like Secretive Sage, for example, which is just Vigilance, is a Force token generator, and comes in shielded as a 2/2 as well. Just feels like it's so much better in the long run than Cassian is. I might be completely wrong on that. Let me know down in the comment section if you think that I am wrong, or if there is a leader in a combination that I'm not quite seeing with this card. But to me, this doesn't quite feel like it's doing enough here. Something that is doing a lot, because that is a lot of text, is the Vigil. A 7 resource space unit, which is a 5/9, and has the following effects. If damage would be dealt to another friendly unit, prevent 1 of that damage. If damage would be dealt to this unit by another card, so just another card, not even just sort of when attacking, deal that much damage +1 instead, and it's got plot. So really cool card here, and it feels like this is what Cassian is like trying to do, but on steroids here, realistically. Because it's a 5/9 in space already, which is pretty big, pretty good stat line. It's got the plot keyword, so if you're deploying a leader unit on 7, then you can play this out. So say if you're playing like Yoda, for example, which does deploy on 7 from memory, you can go ahead and deploy Yoda, plot out the Vigil thing, use the Yoda effect as well to do some healing and some damage, and then you've got the Vigil there ready to swing in for 5 as well. And then this really cool, like, dual-pronged protection effect that's going on as well here. If damage will be dealt to another friendly unit, prevent 1. So that is, it seems, at the very least, on the wording of this card, either from a hard set amount of damage, so like those cards like Open Fire, Daring Raid, things like that, or just by an attack, so you reduce some damage there. And then the second line, if damage will be dealt to this unit by another card. So I'm guessing that's kind of the same sort of checks here that's going on in the first effect. Like, it can be either by an attack or by an attempt at trying to burn it, it seems. Which just feels like that this card is, like, super, super broken. If that is the case, no? Because the only way that you're removing this is by just, like, a defeat a non-leader unit card. Or something like that. So, like, Fellow Dragon answers this. But you just, like, can't attack into it because it's not a once per action phase limit that you're dealing here. That seems broken. That seems very, very broken in the space arena. We'll have to wait for maybe a little bit of further clarification on that fact, if that is indeed true. But if it is, I mean, expect to see a lot of vigilance or a lot of out of aspect removal cards to be able to try and deal with this thing, because this looks like it could be an absolute menace if that is so. Next is going to be the end of our Vigilance run with Lando Calrissian. 7 resource mono Vigilance ground unit. 6/8 with Grit. Not bad. And then when played, you may choose an enemy unit and another friendly non-leader unit. If you do, heal 6 from your base, and the enemy unit captures the friendly unit. We've gone over this card before as well. This one seems okay. It doesn't seem too bad. 6/8 for 7 with Grit already seems like it's pretty decent at stat line. And then the when played effect, if you choose something in the ground arena that is going to go ahead and capture something, and then you're healing 6, which is, you know, Vigilance event style numbers on the heal, you could then just go ahead and crash Lando into the unit that's captured your thing, get the Grit stacks, and get your unit rescued as well, which is very, very nice. And if you choose a friendly non-leader unit with a bounty as well, that could be even more valuable, because you send the bounty unit away to be captured, then next action phase, swing into the unit that's capturing, rescue, and then claim your bounty. That seems pretty decent, in all honesty. We're not really seeing a ton of units right now that have bounties on them from the top of my head. Maybe the Ruthless Aggressor. No, Ruthless Aggressor doesn't have a bounty, does it? The Guavian Antagonizer is seeing a little bit of play, which has, I think, a draw bounty. Same with the Hylabon Enforcer. At my memory, at the very least, from what I've seen in Bilbao this weekend, there's not really many units with bounties that are getting played at the moment. But this feels like it could be a cool little opportunity for you. Maybe even work into something working on that kind of bounty line. Include this in Bosk. Bring Bosk Vigilance back and use Lando in it. Load your unit side up with a few more bounty units as well. Stick another bounty on there like Target or Deathmark. And then you're double claiming the bounty as well, potentially with Bosk. Okay, this card cooks. This card feels like it cooks. I might have to try and cook up a boss list for this. Let me know in the comments if you wanna see that. Like this video if you wanna see a new boss list with Secrets of Power and Lando Calrissian, because I think that could be cool. Now let's go into command here. We're going to start off with Director Krennic, a 9-resource ground unit in command villainy, 8/10 Sentinel, so that's kind of like Devastator kind of range here. Is it the Devastator? The 10 costs command villainy 10/10 thing. It's one of the capital ships at the very least, but that is that kind of stat line. When this unit is attacked, discard a card from your deck. If it's a unit, you may return it to hand. So, kind of situational draw power here when this unit is getting attacked. There's two big questions that are going to be with this leader. One, how aggressively are you trying to funnel into this being your end game piece? Right? Are you just like aggressively super laser technicianing and resupplying to be able to get into this Krennic as your end game? Secondly, how are you making sure that this discard and this unit thing hits? Do we have some foresight that we can pair with this? Something like an Inferno 4 would be quite nice. But the problem with that line is that you've more than likely then drawn those cards into hand in the regroup phase by the time you're then ready to play Krennic. So that might be a little bit more awkward. But I don't mind the idea of it at the very least, especially if you're trying to really sort of like hard lock down the ground arena where a lot of decks are focused at the moment in the format. Maybe with the exceptions being some of the pilot decks that are running around, Boba, Vader, Poe as well. If that seems a little bit more play, just a really good way to lock down the ground arena. And of course, if you pair this with the Kylo Ren's command shuttle, this becomes a 12 HP Sentinel in the ground arena, which seems pretty cool. So, well, I think Krennic is a wait and see card. I like it in concept. In execution, I'm not sure how easily it's going to be able to be pulled off, but we will wait and see. That's the only card that command villainy is getting in Legendary, which is quite interesting. We're moving straight on to heroism with Queen Amidala, 5-resource 5/3 on the ground. When played, you get to create 2 spy tokens. Cool. Thumbs up from me. I love a token generator. If damage would be dealt to this unit, you may defeat another friendly unit that shares a trait with this unit. So it has to be Naboo or official that you defeat. If you do, prevent that damage. So essentially what we've got here is, as you'd expect from the Naboo Queen, is a protect the president type strategy that we're going for here and building around with Queen Amidala. We are wanting to keep this unit on the board the entire game, basically, and get a load of officials that are going to be sacrifice fodder to try and keep this around. The spy tokens, I do want to check quickly. I don't think that they share any traits with Queen Amidala. Let me take 2 seconds to check here. Okay, so spy tokens do have the official tag, which I suppose thinking about it makes a lot of sense when you're creating 2 spy tokens to be Amidala's bodyguards. So this is really, really cool. I like this card a lot. And if you're putting this in something like Mon Mothma, for example, one of the new leaders in the set, which allows you to ignore the aspect penalties on non-villainy official units, if you just cram your deck with a load of officials, and if some of them have some when defeated abilities as well for you to benefit off of sacrificing them to Amidala, this could be a really, really good deck. I think. I like the look of this idea. And again, if we can just get a load of like token generators with spies and things as well, this is another deck that I think I'm going to have to cook up, is Mon Mothma with Amidala Protect the President, or some kind of other way to create tokens as well. Let me quickly have a look-see here. Do we have another way to create tokens in leaders right now? We've got Slymore, but that's in villainy, so that's not going to work, and is asking for way too much. Governor Price readies token units, so that doesn't really help us. I think it really, from new leaders at the very least, it's Mon Mothma that we go for here. Each other a friendly official unit also getting a +1 boost to HP, which I think is gonna boost, yeah, it's gonna boost Amidala as well. So this will make it 5/4 when Mon Mothma deploys. I think we're cooking with this. I think we're cooking with this. I really like this card in that strategy. Yeah, I'm definitely making this deck. I'm definitely trying this deck out because this looks really, really fun. Speaking of other cards that look really fun in Command and Heroism as well, we've got Figure of Unity. It is a 3-resource upgrade, which gives +2/+2 on its base stat line. You have to attach it to a unique unit, but the attached unit gains, while this unit is ready, each other friendly unit gains Overwhelm, Raid 1, and Restore 1 as well. So going back to this idea with Amidala here, if we attach this onto Amidala, she becomes a 7/5, 7/6 when Mothma is deployed, and you just don't attack with her. You just keep Amidala ready as this, like, I've got this unit here that's going to be able to basically close out a game in one action if you can't hard remove it. And everything else is going to be attacking him with Overwhelm, Raid 1, and Restore 1? That seems really interesting. That seems really cool. I'm not 100% convinced that that's going to be the right way to utilize that Amidala combo as best as we can, but I mean, it is another opportunity that we've got to basically say to our opponent, hey, you've got to hard remove this to be able to deal with this card. Maybe I could see it being included into the side deck of this Amidala combo thing here, but otherwise, this card is really nice. This card is really cool. The fact that it has to only be attached to a unique unit is a little bit of a shame, but it doesn't say non-leader as well. So you could, in theory, attach it onto a leader unit because leaders are unique, and then just go ahead and keep that ready. If it's got a really impactful like banner effect or something like that, keep it ready and let everything else just swing in for damage. That is an opportunity, but yeah, Figure of Unity is cool, but not as cool as Amidala. I think this is my favorite heroism legendary at the moment right now. Darksire by far is also one of my favorites with in villainy. Next up, we've got into the mono aspect cards. We've got the Vutun Pala, which is a 9-resource space unit. It's a 7/7, but costs 1 resource less for each friendly droid unit, and each friendly droid unit may be exhausted to pay costs as if it were a resource. So, you've got a 7/7, which can be played in for a lot cheaper if you are playing a Droid Matters type deck, and you're giving all of your droids Convoke, which is a Magic the Gathering keyword of exactly this. You can exhaust or tap your droid units to pay for costs. So essentially you get like a second resource row, which is just disgustingly good. In terms of decks that this is going to fit into, maybe something like Newt Gunray, to be able to get a load of droid tokens. That's what you're really looking for here, is just to get a load of battle droid tokens. boost them up in some way, shape, or form, to then make sure that they're not just being, like, easily pinged away or, like, you know, bombing run or grenade striked to just wipe out your board kind of thing. But you could also, like, play across the space arena with this as well, get, like, the P-38 in Cunning Villainy, get the 15 copies of the 2-resource aspectless battle droid ship as well that you could play. That could be really, really funny to work with here. I really want a droid deck to work as well. I really, really want this it to work with the Separatists, because it is just objectively funny to see a load of Separatist droids running around and now paying costs for a giant 7/7 that could come in and ruin your day. Speaking of ruining your day, we've got to talk about Let's Talk. It's a 9-resource monocommand event, but it costs 3 less if a friendly unit left play this phase, and each friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. So what this basically is, if you play this right, is a board wipe for command, basically, because it's a temporary board wipe at the very least, because all the units are being captured, so they're not going away entirely. It's not quite like Super Laser Blast, but it's still pretty decent. I mean, you are going to need a lot of units on your board because it is each friendly unit. It's not just like one friendly unit is going to capture everything. So you are going to need to outnumber your opponent in an arena, at the very least, to make this card work. But I feel like that you could make that work against some decks. There are others where it is going to be very, very difficult to do. Say against Pilot Vader, it's very, very unlikely that you're going to be able to make that work against it. Pilot Vader maybe could make this deck work, or make this card work. You're already outnumbering in the space arena, so if your opponent tries to match that aggression that you're putting in, you know, your TIE Fighter tokens, for example, are going to be easy fodder for you to trigger that 3-resource reduced payment cost. And then all of a sudden you can just go, ha, let's talk. I'm going to completely mop up the space arena, deploy Pilot Vader, create 2 more TIE Fighter tokens, and swing. That could be an option for this card. Could be very, very dangerous as well. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this card. Next, we're going into Aggression here. Only 4 cards that Aggression is getting in the Legendary slot, at least right now. There is still the very real possibility that there is one more Legendary that we are missing for whatever reason. I'll do a follow-up short or TikTok or something like that if that is the case. But I believe we've now had every single Legendary officially revealed. Dryden Voss is the first one to talk about in Aggression. It's Aggression and Villainy, 4-resource ground unit for a 2/5, which says on attack, you may double this unit's power for this attack. If you do, this unit doesn't ready during the next regroup phase. So this card is cool. This card is interesting. I initially felt maybe a little bit underwhelmed by this card when it got revealed, but thinking about it now, actually, and talking about a card that we will speak about in a moment in Cunning, this card could actually be really cool in Grand Inquisitor from Spark of Rebellion, because it has 2 base power on its stat line. So you can play the Dryden Voss. On the next action phase, you then attack with it, double the unit's power for the attack, and it's going to get stunned down for the next regroup phase. But then it's got the stat line to be reactivated with the effect of Grand Inquisitor. And it doesn't say on the when attack ability that the power doubling can't happen on the next action phase after doing this on attack ability. So we could get and cheat around multiple instances of this on attack effect. It does mean you are going to have to take a damage for it on the unit, which, okay, fine. If your opponent can answer it, then, you know, sure, whatever. But it's an idea, at the very least. I'm not 100% sure how much that idea is going to get toyed around with. Like I said, there is a combo that we'll talk about for Grand Inquisitor that has certainly taken a section of the Star Wars Unlimited community by storm, myself included, because it's just absolutely bonkers. And as a set 1 Grand Inquisitor player, I'm very, very excited for it. But yeah, Dryden Voss could potentially work in set 1 GI. Outside of that, I think this card is maybe a little bit mid. The 4 damage that you can get on every other action phase is, like, it's fine. But by that point, it's not doing anything the next regroup phase once it's attacked, so your opponent can just kind of leave it alone. And by the time the next action phase comes around, if they do refresh and regroup, you just get rid of it. You just stop it before it gets its on attack trigger. You just drop a Sentinel down or something like that, and Dryden just has to kind of stare at it at the very least. So, yeah, outside maybe of that kind of GI combo, if we have any other ways to circumnavigate this doesn't ready effect, that's really the only time I think that Dryden Voss is going to see play. Next up is going to be a card that I was very, very excited for, at least in concept, when that teaser article from Tyler Parrott got revealed a couple of months or so ago. Confidence in Victory. It is a 10 resource event in Aggression and Villainy. Play only as your first action in the action phase. Choose an arena. At the start of the regroup phase, if you are the only player who controls units in that arena, you win the game. So we have our first ever alternate win condition card coming to Star Wars Unlimited. The problem is this is garbage. This is really, really bad. 10 resources is way too expensive for an alt win condition card, first and foremost. There are only going to be a certain number of matchups that you are going to be playing this in, and that is going to be in the hard control mirror matches. You know, if you're playing against something like, you know, hard control Kira mirror, or Item Versio mirror, or something like that, Palp mirror as well, that's really going to be the only time that this card is going to make sense. Otherwise, 10 resources, by the time that you're trying to aggressively ramp up to that point, you are well on your way of losing the game, because you are losing so much time. Secondly, the fact that it is a numbers game that you are playing with in terms of being the player that only controls units in an arena, for it being your win condition, really difficult for you to have to take the time to do and to deal with, right? Pilot Vader isn't going to be playing this in any stretch of the imagination. First and foremost, because Pilot Vader doesn't play in aggression. It plays in cunning or in vigilance sometimes. And you're winning the game by 10 resources, ideally, or losing it, pretty much. So that's not going to matter. Again, going back then into those sort of control mirror matches, it could work potentially in something like Bosk, maybe, or like the high control mirror decks. But I fear that if you've got an opponent that's, you know, going to play around this, because it's the first action that you have to play, there is the opportunity that they can just go, oh, okay, cool, I just claim, or I just litter the board with a load of units, so it's going to be impossible for you to be able to control units in that arena. You're probably all out of resources as well, so it's not like you can go ahead and go like Confidence in Victory into Super Laser Blast into play a unit anywhere and win the game. Yeah, this just feels like it's a real letdown of the alt win condition. I much prefer the idea that I had initially, and this is maybe a little bit of tooting my own horn here, but the idea initially that I had when the you win the game text was teased in that article, of it being, if you control a unit with like, if you represent every aspect on the board, you win the game. I would have loved that to have been an idea, because that is something that feels still quite interactive. It feels like there's something that's still quite achievable within that sort of scenario. This just does not feel achievable, at least right now, from what I'm seeing. We may be completely wrong. There may be a way to get this event in play cheaper and sooner. We'll have to see what the wider community come up with, but at least right now, and for this being the first time that we're seeing an alternate win condition in Star Wars Unlimited, and as someone who loves alternate win conditions in games, to me this really misses the mark, which is a shame, really. It's a real shame. Next up is Chopper, which I think is technically the first legendary that we actually got revealed for Secrets of Power, because it was in the Droid Blueprint Convention exclusive pack for 2025. So Chopper here is a 2-resource ground unit in aggression and heroism. It's a 4/1, which is very, very aggressive. And when this unit deals combat damage to a base, each player discards a card from their hand. I like this card. I really like this card. And I primarily like this Shock Horror in Sabine. I think this card in Sabine is going to go ridiculously hard. To be able to swing in for the potential of 6 damage on Action Phase 2, if you're going Phase 1 Chopper, Phase 2 Fleet Lieutenant, because this does have the Rebel tag, that's kind of disgusting, in all honesty. Yes, you're having to discard a card from your hand, but you're also forcing your opponent to discard from hand as well, which during those early game stages, it's very, very important to try and keep as many cards in hand so that you're just not running out of things to do after you've resourced in the regroup phase. And the fact that, you know, Sabine obviously deploys on 4 as well means that Sabine is very possibly just stopping resourcing by action phase, you know, resource phase 5 or 6. This feels very, very good and very, very strong. The 1 HP is a little bit of a shame, and I think if Set 1 Palpatine stays around in the format going into Secrets of Power, like it has done with its resurgence for Legends of the Force, Chopper's going to be a little bit more difficult to play, because it's gonna heavily rely on whoever has initiative at that point, because there is the possibility that the Palpatine player just goes, oh, okay, I play a unit on action phase 1, you play the Chopper, cool, I claim, and my first action phase is Palp effect, defeat my unit, kill your Chopper, draw 1. But in any other matchup, Chopper seems pretty decent. But again, it is going to be heavily reliant on your opponent not having a phase 1 play in the ground arena, or you just having the initiative first off to be able to swing with a Chopper raw, or play Fleet Lieutenant swing for 6 kind of thing. But I like Chopper. I really like Chopper for Sabine, and I think that it should, at the very least, see some play. As should this card as well, I think. Nemik's Manifesto. It's a 1-resource upgrade in aggression and heroism. +1/+1 to its stat boosts, and gets the following effects. First off, you got to attach it to a non-vehicle unit. Okay, fine. A lot of upgrades do that. Attached unit, however, gains the Rebel trait, and when defeated, deal 1 damage to each enemy base for each other friendly Rebel unit. And to me, as I was getting ready to record this video, this is another big Sabine card here, because I want you to picture the following combo. You've got K2SO on the board, and the rest of your board is made up of a bunch of other rebels of some kind. So say like Fleet Lieutenant, Sabine leader unit, or the 2-resource Sabine, or something of like that. Maybe a Green Squadron A-Wing in the space, or something. You know, enough rebels on the board. Next action phase, you attach Nemik's Manifesto onto K2SO, they do something, whether it's, deal some damage into K2 or put something into base, whatever. You then heroic sacrifice targeting K2. You're swinging in for, what would that be? 9 damage, I think, into base with the attack. 4 from the K2, then 4 from the heroic sacrifice. I think it's 4 at the very least. I will quickly double check that. Heroic sacrifice. I think it's +4. No, +2. Okay, but still, it's still fine. So you go 7 instead into base with the heroic sacrifice. 4 from the K2, +2 from heroic sacrifice, +1 for the Nemesis Manifesto. It's then going to defeat when the unit deals combat damage. So you'll do another 3 into base, bumping out to 10 in the one action with the K2, and then get the when defeated ability of the Nemix Manifesto of, even if it's, say, like 2 or 3, you've then done 13 damage into base with that combination of cards. To me, that is disgustingly good. That is, nearly wiping out half of the damage on a force base, for example, at 28 HP. That's wiping out over half the damage on, say, like, Energy Conversion Lab or Tack in Town. That's putting a hefty chunk into something like Data Vault. That seems very, very good, in my opinion. And then coupled with the fact that you'll then have the damage that you've been dealing on any of the other action phases as well. I'm gonna cook up with new Sabine as well. I'm gonna have to make a list of decks I'm gonna have to showcase leading up to Secrets of Power, because we've got new Sabine either with Energy Conversion Lab or with Data Vault. We've got this Mon Mothma Queen Amidala thing that I have a funny feeling with is going to be fun. Also Bosk potentially with this Lando Calrissian, and then we potentially will be showcasing the deck that we're going to talk about in the next card as well. Although quite a few content creators have already been playing with this deck. Let me know though. We'll speak about it in a second, and let me know if you want to see me play it as well. But yeah, this combination and these 2 cards that Sabine is getting from Legendary slot just seems bonkers. Just seems absolutely bonkers for me. Aggression Heroism eating very, very well in Secrets of Power, as is Cunning and Villainy. Yes, it's time to talk about Darth Traya. When I first talked about this card, I thought, oh, okay, this could be cool in something like Cad Bane to get multiple leader pings off of the leader side effect. Because Darth Traya is a 3-resource ground unit. She's a 2/5 that says, on attack, you may ready a non-leader unit. However, there has been an infinite combo that has been discovered over the past week or so with a leader that I mentioned earlier on. And that leader is none other than the Grand Inquisitor from set 1. It also relies on the Tragedy of Plagueis, which is an event card that was released in Legends of the Force. And what the combo basically is this. You have Darth Traya on the board, as well as either your Grand Inquisitor in the leader side, or in fact, it has to be on the leader side, so because it's a non-unit leader. So it has to be Grand Inquisitor on the leader side that you have. So, Darth Traya on the board, playing Grand Inquisitor in the leader zone. First action of the phase, you play the Tragedy of Plagueis, which reads, choose a unit on your side of the board. For this action phase, it can't be defeated by having its HP reduced to 0. So you target Darth Traya with that, and for the rest of the action phases, unless your opponent has a way to interact with it in any way, shape, or form, you loop the attack in with the Darth Treya, trigger its on attack effect to ready the Grand Inquisitor leader unit, use its action to deal 2 damage to a friendly unit with 3 or less power, and just continue swinging and reactivating and swinging and reactivating until your opponent loses the game. It's an insane combo if it works and if you can pull it off. Of course, the slight issue that you can and may run into with that combo, as I'll quickly bring up Tragedy of Plagueis here as well, is that there is just a possibility that if you're playing against the right deck, that they could just go ahead and, like, hard remove something, right? Hard remove it. You can go ahead and take it out with something like Takedown, Vanquish, those kinds of things. If they can't do that, however, you go infinite and you win the game from there. It's an absolutely insane combo that has been discovered. The first time I saw it was from Veiled Shot, and I'll link his video in the description so that you can see this combo in action. And like I said, I might do a video as well showcasing this combo as well. But it is so much fun. It looks so much fun if you can find the pieces and if you can get the combo going. So Darth Treya, I think, is going to be one of the most valuable legendaries in the set for that reason, for a lot of people wanting to use this infinite combo deck. Next up is going to be Grand Admiral Thrawn. I was quite hyped on this card when it first got revealed. It's a 7-resource ground unit, 8/7 in Cunning and Villainy. When played, an opponent may choose a non-leader unit they control. If they do, this unit captures it. If they don't, Thrawn readies up. So either your opponent loses a unit, which could either be like if you've been able to control them down into having just 1 unit on the board, then they lose their entire board presence, or Thrawn readies and you're facing 8 to base potentially in the next action. When defeated as well, a friendly unit captures an enemy non-leader unit in the same arena. So even when you get rid of this Grand Admiral Thrawn, you're still going to be losing a unit temporarily, at least your opponent is, with the when defeated trigger. And if you're playing this in set 4 Thrawn, in How Unfortunate Thrawn, this when defeated ability could trigger twice. So you could get double capture off of this 7-resource Thrawn. I really like this in that deck, and I called Thrawn combos pretty well after seeing the Zuckuss Legendary from Legends of the Force get played in Double Cunning Set 1 Thrawn. I'm calling it again here. This is going to be a menace in How Unfortunate Thrawn, with its double trigger of the when defeated. And the when played seems really good as well. Either snatch a unit or you've got 8 power that's ready to slam in. So I really like the 2 villainy units that Cunning is getting in this set. Next up is Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is Attack of the Clones era Obi-Wan Kenobi as well. We've had Obi-Wan's feature from pretty much every era as well now, I think, in the game. We've got Sentinel Obi-Wan, which is from Phantom Menace. This one from Attack of the Clones. We've got the leader, which is the newest leader, which is Clone Wars era. Film 3 Obi-Wan arguably is the old school Obi-Wan leader with Sentinel. Also obviously featured on Hello There. Film 4 Obi-Wan A New Hope featured on the old school Sentinel as well from set 1. We've had a lot of Obi-Wan love in Star Wars Unlimited so far. And this one seems like it's continuing the mold as well of being a strong Obi-Wan card. It's a 4-resource ground unit in Cunning and Heroism, 4/5, that says, when this unit deals combat damage to a base, discard a card from the defending player's deck. For this phase, you may play that card from their discard pile, ignoring its aspect penalties, which is really, really good. Really, really cool. If you're playing up against a deck that's in the complete wrong aspects, who cares? You're still going to just play the printed cost on this card. And if you protect the hell out of this Obi-Wan as well, you're going to get some really, really nice value. Imagine playing an Avenger from the discard pile of your opponent off of an Obi-Wan attack. That seems just absolutely incredible and absolutely insane. This feels very, very good. We've obviously seen already quite a lot of strong decks in Cunning and Heroism, excuse me. A lot of great cards in that aspect combination with Kira, Ahsoka Tano, Bamboozle, Spark of Rebellion as well to discard cards. We've got like so much kind of mid-range control and disruption in these aspect pairs. And this is no different as well. Milling a card from the defending player's deck and then being able to rub salt into the wound and say, hey, you know what? I like that unit. I'm going to take it for myself. I mean, even if you're taking, like, imagine taking a Super Laser Technician from this. That just seems bonkers. That seems really, really strong for Obi-Wan. I like that card a lot. Next up is Lightmaker. It's a 5-resource space unit in Cunning and Heroism. It's a 3/4 with Raid 4, which is disgusting, by the way. It's slamming for 7 and says, when defeated, choose an arena, exhaust each enemy unit in that arena. So we've got outmaneuver on a Raid 4 body. This card's crazy. This card feels absolutely insane, especially, we were talking about trying to counter Pilot Vader a couple of moments ago in this video. This card could counter Pilot Vader quite nicely, because if you slam in to like the Clone Commando Squadron and get rid of that, or whatever the Vader pilots, slam in and exhaust everything in the space arena, and essentially make the Vader player take an entire action phase off, that seems pretty good. Or on the other foot, if you are playing heavily into the space and you're being outnumbered in the ground arena, you know, if you like sacrifice this or crash into a Sentinel that they've got, exhaust down the entire ground arena, that seems pretty decent. I mean, I've been a fan, admittedly, of Outmaneuver as a card for a long time. I just think it's a really, really strong card. Now having it on a Raid 4 body seems very, very good. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of what Cunning is doing in this set. Every single legendary that we've spoken about so far feels like that it's hitting. And so does Synara San as well, who's the last Cunning legendary that we have to talk about in this video. She is a 7-resource mono Cunning ground unit with hidden 7/7, so already 7/7 for 7, she's well statted, but on attack, for each friendly unit, ready a friendly resource. Gross. Absolutely gross. There's not many, if any, friendly resource readying that we've seen in the format since the suspension of Boba. This feels like it could be really, really good. And I've just noticed as well, it's Underworld traded. So if we chuck this in Cad Bane, we could maybe go, like, play down 7-resource Cad, swing with Synara San, and reactivate and ready a load of resources to then play something else down. That seems pretty fun to me. The 7-resource that you have to pay for it initially is maybe a little bit on the expensive side. You're taking an entire sort of action phase to do that, basically. It does have the hidden keyword at the very least. Your opponent can't just immediately go, okay, I'm just going to crash into that and remove it. They will have to hard remove. But Synara San seems like it's pretty decent value that you can get if you can work it right. I like this. This is another kind of thing I like in concept, but I think is going to need a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of experimentation by the community to try and figure out the best way to use this card. Finally, we've got Darth Nihilus, the debut of a brand new character from the Legends universe. Nihilus as a 7-resource mono villainy ground unit. He's a 6/6 that says when played and on attack, deal 3 damage to the unit with the least remaining HP among other units, and if multiple are tied, you get to choose one. If it is a non-vehicle unit, Nihilus gets an experience token. To me, this card is very strong. Just being in mono villainy already, very, very good. It's a 6/6 for 7 that has a good when played ability, which likely, if you time it right, will come into play as a 7/7 for 7. And if you're playing this as something like Mother Tolzin, it's going to be very easy to be able to get something into Nihilus range that is very, very strongly statted. Say something like an Anakin Champion of Mortis, a Poe, a Wrecker, something like that. Because you could go in with the Tolzin's Assassin, or you could like crash in with the Karis, activates when defeated, leader unit, leader action of Tolzin to -1/-1, leader unit attack to -1/-1, then Nihilus when played to deal 3. And then the on attack as well, mentioning earlier with the Tolzin's Assassin. Next action phase, Tolzin's Assassin, -3/-3. Then attack with Nihilus, burn and defeat. Experience token onto Nihilus. Make it an 8 power unit by that point. Seems very, very good. It seems very, very strong indeed. So I think Nihilus is going to see a lot of play. Like I say, I think much so in Mother Tolzin as well. Not only is it Sith traded, it's also Force traded, so it is going to be able to generate the Force token, unlike something like the Acolyte of the Beyond, which cannot generate the Force token. Yeah, I think this is going to be very, very strong indeed in that deck, and in a lot of villainy decks as well. Nihilus and Scion, the two legendary legends, and in fact even with Treya included in that conversation as well, all look very, very good indeed. That then is all of the legendaries that are going to be in Secrets of Power, and power indeed is what we are putting into the format with all these cards. There is a lot to love in the legendary slot, it feels like. There's a lot more to cover as well going into the release of the set. Like I said, I'll be doing some videos and cooking up some of these decks with the Amidala combo, maybe this Lando with Bosk, as well as the brand new version of what Sabine could look like. Let me know down in the comments section below which ones you'd want to see, ideas you want to see me try and cook up with. We will also go through some of the rares that are going to be released in this set by Aspect, as well as do a little sealed and pre-release primer. I think that could be fun going into the release weekend and pre-release weekend of the Secrets of Power set. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. I hope that you have enjoyed it. If you have, do consider dropping a like rating on it. Subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't already, and share this around as well with other members of the Star Wars Unlimited community so they can get the idea of all of the legendaries that are making their way into the set, as well as plenty more Star Wars Unlimited content to come as well. But until then, that's going to do it to this video. Until the next one, I'll see you soon. Goodbye for now.